They are cheat codes to life, ways to live and think that allow you to love your life, and love it to the fullest. One of those cheat codes is authenticity. Being authentic is really just another way of saying, be yourself. But do you know who you really are? Over the course of our lives, it's easy to lose sight of who we really are. We're often caught up with ideas of who we're supposed to be, as opposed to who we need to be. We spend so much of our time thinking about our identity in the world and the expectations others have of it, that we mold ourselves these expectations, as if our lives depended on it. Except that's backwards. If you try to live up to an ideal created by someone other than yourself, be it from your parents, your friends, or your society, you've already lost the one thing that could have made you authentic in the first place. What is it that you really want to do? What would you do with your life if there were nobody to please, nobody to answer to? What if there was nothing to do but be yourself? For a while, I didn't even know that these were the questions to be asking. I was too caught up climbing ladders that didn't need climbing and conforming to expectations that I presumed would make me happy. I was living up to someone else's ideals instead of following my own dreams and ideas of what life could be. When I started living authentically, the opinions of others dissolved and eventually fell away. It's not that they didn't exist anymore. They just ceased to have an impact on my decision-making. I realized that the only person who could bring me happiness and fulfillment in this life was myself. If I wasn't nurturing and cultivating my authentic self, it wouldn't matter how much external validation I received. I would never be happy. And since I was the one who had to experience the joys and sorrows of my life, why wouldn't I just cut the bullshit and make the decisions that I felt like I needed to make? It can be scary to be your true self. After all, we're social primates, programmed to seek social acceptance and hyper-attuned to the opinions of others. Granted, social acceptance had a purpose in our ancestors' past, and it still does. But when the opinions of others begin to overtake your opinion of yourself, you're in dangerous waters. In adolescence, we quickly learn that being different or sticking out is a dangerous thing. When you're different, you get teased, you get put down. People look at you funny because you're saying and doing things that others don't quite understand. And thus we grow afraid of saying what we really think, doing what we really want, and becoming who we really are. We become afraid of being ourselves. While it's necessary to learn how to integrate into a functioning society, this social conditioning inevitably puts us in a box. It's a box of rules and expectations that we've inherited, whether they felt true to us or not. And when we finally develop into functioning adults, we continue to live inside this box. But don't ever forget, there is no box. You can do whatever you want, and you have one life to do it. Life can be so interesting when you decide to put some coins into the game. You can play this game with others and build new worlds and games that you didn't even know existed. It's interesting that throughout our lives, we often seek to feel unique or special, but ultimately, we all end up looking the same. We end up wearing the same clothes, liking the same things, and holding beliefs and opinions that have been deemed in vogue or acceptable. We're so busy trying to live up to the ideals that we inherited that we forget that the real cheat code was within ourselves all along. We just have to look. When I started asking myself the right questions, the right answers began to appear. I stopped looking to the outside world for answers and became curiously interested in what my inner world had to say. After all, the inner world is the habitat for your true self, the home of your authenticity. After all, when you experience your life, you experience it alone, in your mind. We humans seek authenticity in everything we do. It acts as a sort of lightning rod, attracting others like moths to a flame. You often hear people say, "I love his vibe. He's so real." What does that mean? It means that he or she is living authentically, living as their true selves. It's something we feel. In that sense, authenticity is tangible. It's the real thing. We may have a tough time using language to describe this, but we all sense it. We all sense when people are fake, or if they're trying to be someone they're not. We humans crave truth, and we detect authenticity. So then the answer is natural. Be authentic. It's how you win. It's how you properly live out your destiny with conviction in your heart. Your authenticity goes deep, and there is so much to discover there. But you can only begin to discover by turning within and intimately getting to know yourself. At times, you might not like what you find, but at least it's real. So be yourself. Be tangible and unique. This cheat code has lived within you since you were born. Dare to access it, and you might surprise yourself. And that leads me here. Looking back, I noticed that my life has been a continual process of discovering, befriending, and becoming my authentic self. Leaning into it and not shying away. This first body of work is an expression of this process, and I'm excited to release it into the wild. While on its face, it may just be a compilation of dance beats, for me it represents my journey through this landscape of self and authenticity. Through this project, I hope to connect an authentic part of me with an authentic part of you. This is the beginning, perhaps the most beautiful part. I hope you'll come along for the ride.